Hello and welcome to another day of Dan takes Adderall and then rants into a microphone. This is, by the way, this is prescribed, okay? This is prescribed medication from a medical doctor. All right, so don't you come for me. Don't you tell me, oh, Dan just needed to stay up and write his dissertation. I don't even know the meaning of what that word is, okay? So don't you dare. Listen, I start every day kind of fresh. You know, I'm like, what might today bring? What amazing new adventure is today? That's basically how I live my life, right? And so it's kind of painful when seemingly almost every day, that feeling doesn't last long before something happens that sends me into an existential spiral of horror that makes me feel like, what even is this world? I was Googling pictures of fennec foxes last night because they're the cutest animal ever, and I wanted to work on a painting. So I'm looking through Pinterest, and everything I search on Pinterest returns half women that are in their underwear. And yes, I know that I probably have somehow hinted at the algorithm that I mean, it's possible that I might have clicked on an image of Jamie Lee Curtis wearing a tank top at some time in my life. The algorithm is always going to devolve into, oh, you want pictures of their feet and butthole? You want videos of a woman jumping up and down doing a TikTok dance and making her boobs bounce. Like that's it. That's the video. That's basically the hottest thing on the internet right now. And I get why. Trust me, I get why. But really, and here's the thing that's horrible about this, and this brings me to my existential dread spiral. Okay? Soon, men aren't even going to care. It's already happening. Men don't even care if it's a real person anymore. It's just AI generated physics jiggle boobs. We've built all this technology, sent people to the moon, by God. People that are making AI pictures of fennec foxes that almost look real, and they look ultra cute because we figured out what cute is scientifically, so we can make things look more cute. AI can do that, and you can crank that knob up to 11. You can get people to look at your stuff and get people to download it. You can probably get people to pay 25 cents for it. And that's not a lot of money unless you can do it for 4 cents. You see what I'm saying? Just explaining basic economics. You can completely understand why people, especially young artists right now, are freaking out, terrified, hate AI. You know, as a person who spent half my life without this hell surrounding me constantly, I mean, when I was coming up, you know, things were dark in their own way. I was born in the dark. Hold on, let me do a better Bane. I was born in the dark. I hope the mic picked that up. That was not AI generated, which brings me to my point. I've been hesitant to talk about this because it's controversial. I'm not the kind of person like in a normal room, in normal circumstances, who would shy away from saying something controversial if I feel like it's true or interesting or worth discussion, right? But it's not quite the same when you're potentially talking to every person in the world with every type of possible weird hang up and instability, pet peeve. There's another word that sounds Piccadillys. Is that right? Piccadillys? Like me, if I have to deal with a tangled mess of wires for more than like 5 or 6 seconds, it somehow awakens some kind of primal rage in me, some kind of evolutionary. I inherited this trait from my Neanderthal ancestors. And I'm going to tell you right now, it hasn't been helpful at all. But everybody's got their little picadillos. I did say earlier that I am on medication for ADHD, which usually follows that I was diagnosed with ADHD. I really am not very good with tedious things that take a long time. So I'm kind of better at talking for way too long as opposed to writing down something. And then, I mean, if I was turning this into an essay, if I wrote this as an essay, would it be as chock full of amazing jokes? Probably not. So AI will help transcribe this, and I'll be able to use that as a transcript to clean up, just to see if I can rearrange it into something a human being could comprehend. And then I can edit the transcript in order to edit the audio. Do you know how amazing that is? I used to have a podcast, and it would take me 8-10 hours to edit down an hour and a half to get all the air out of it, so to speak. And I'm sorry, but that's cool that I don't have to do that anymore. Do I have my own business? A little bit, kind of. I pay taxes every year on the money I make selling art. Am I close to being a businessman? You know, if I was making the kind of money I'm making now doing art, and I lived in the year 14, I'd be living like a lord. If you're an artist, unfortunately, you have to have people paying attention to you or get a job somewhere where somebody else pays you to make a product that they inherit the burden of getting people to pay attention to, so they'll buy it, which for an artist means you have to be good at art. No, I'm kidding. You don't have to be good at art. You just have to get people to pay attention to you. We're stuck with the 24-hour day. We're stuck with the 90-year life if we're super, super lucky. R.I.P. Jimmy Carter. I don't know how did that happen? Why did that just come to mind? We've sent people to the moon. I've got a lot of things going on. I'm currently working on a graphic novel. I do small runs of posters, so I'm always working on one of those. I paint every night. I'm in the middle of doing things all the time, creating things.
And with YouTube and everything else I'd like to do, there's only so much time of the day to make all the things and then try and make a business out of making all the things and selling the things. There's just not enough time. If I have a tool that can help me do some of the things that are less fun for me, it doesn't make any sense to not do it. I also feel really torn about it because the idea that AI is someday going to come for the very meaning of my life sucks. Because
the way that I am is that creativity is like everything to me, man. I'm not really interested in much else except for making things. And it's just a true thing about me. Sometimes I get in this mood where I wish that there were other things that I could make as important as this, because if there were, maybe it wouldn't be so hard. I definitely have the choice every day to wake up and say, all right, creativity is going to have to get bumped down to my priority list because it's not doing a lot. But what is it doing? It's kind of like medication. Once you're on it for a while, you don't even know really kind of what it's doing for you, right? And creativity is my medication. It always has been, and it is even more so now that I'm sober. Last night, I was watching a movie. It was a Japanese horror movie called The Howling Village. Wasn't that great. The lead in the movie is interesting looking. Let me just look her name up. Ayaka Miyoshi. I don't know how to say this without being creepy, but I kind of fell in love with her face. I wanted to figure out how to paint her face. I was happy with what I did. You know, wasn't perfect, but that's what made it cool. I could look at it and I could look at her and I could say that. I can tell it's her. That is not something I've always been able to do. I've had to put a lot of practice into that. I did a painting years ago with David Bowie. I'm a huge fan of David Bowie. It took me a long time. I couldn't just look at the picture and paint him. I had to go on a journey. I went into a course on the categorization of facial features and stuff like that, basically, to try and figure out how to draw David Bowie. I spent a lot of time getting good at the skill. So I see the potential of AI in these tools, especially the tedious stuff. But at the same time, AI can probably do a painting of Ayaka Miyoshi. And since it only takes 25 seconds to do, they can put that on Etsy, sell it for $0.25. If you wanted a pinup poster of Jenna Ortega, and if you zoom in, it looks terrifying. Her eyes are dead, but you can buy that poster for your wall for 35 cents. It's not like I'm trying to compete in the weird, sexy pictures of Jenna Ortega market. If I can use AI to make 3,600 t-shirts a day and put them all on Etsy, and all of them are terrible, except for maybe the monkey writing Shakespeare, and somebody finds it and it becomes something that makes them $100 a day.
it might make it worth it to press the buttons.
Banks make gazillions of dollars a day because they don't even nickel and dime people. They percentage of a penny people, you know, and that adds up.
So if we're talking about the dry, basic concept of creativity, AI is probably going to get better at that. But is that the reason why people like art? Because it's been created in the most efficient way? I'm gonna say the short answer is no.
There is a lot of capital being invested in doing what I do faster and cheaper, and eventually eliminating the need for me and all of my brothers and sisters that create things. And it's not a wonder that people are upset about it, because like the sensible artists, a lot of sensible artists have an avenue for that. If they want a career and they want to create, they can go into the video game industry or the entertainment industry.
And so if suddenly you can do some cheap imitation, dumping a bunch of previous artists' work into a bucket, letting people pay a penny to pull things out of it, that's like, oh my God, just so 3 people could get rich off of it.
And so now if I was like a 15-year-old kid, the idea that it's going to take all these opportunities away from them, I mean, because it's gross and annoying and they're just trying to get started, dude, you know? And then here comes Mark Cuban sucking up their futures, thousands of years of other people's art and time and energy, consolidated it into a single picture that you can pay 35 cents for, because an artist has to charge 45 cents for it, right? And so what does that do? It makes it so people that love art enough to do it try to figure out how to survive off of 45 cents. And it's infuriating because This is how companies make more money. They squeeze more and more money out of the thing with less input. That's what the board wants. These corporations, final decisions often aren't made by people that actually care about the thing. A lot of decisions are made by people that think they could probably squeeze another tenth of a penny out of it if they just eliminate this job, if they just ruin this life. Of course, they don't think about it like that. They think about it as numbers on a piece of paper. Those jobs that you can get when you're first starting out in the entertainment industry or the video game industry, like doing tedious stuff. I remember my first job as a graphic designer was doing clipping paths, where you cut out objects from backgrounds to make product shots for them from photo shoot, right? I was paid to do that for 6 months. Not very much, but that was the first 6 months of my production experience. And now the amount of work I did in that 6 months can be done in an afternoon, unmonitored by a human being. And Adobe's getting that money. So there's a lot of shitty things happening because of this. And it makes me mad. It feels like there's injustice happening that, like another daddy Warbucks sucking up another few pennies out of the economy where everybody else is unemployed.
All right, so let me bring this home with some hope. Let me leave you with some optimism. I'll say this, there are a whole lot of people that see through this bullshit. They are tired of everything being fake. They don't want quick and cheap and easy. They want something real. And, AI is in the hype phase right now. Everybody's throwing a bunch of money at it, trying to make money off of every aspect of life they can. But what I've seen in my own life is that things always swing back and forth. And people are already getting tired of just everything being fake. There are people out there that still want what you have, what you're trying to get good at. Things are going to bounce back. Companies, if that's what you're interested in, companies are going to become just completely creatively bankrupt, and they're going to need people that are creative again. The smoke is going to clear, and yes, the landscape will look different, but there's always going to be a need, and not only a need in industry, but also a need from normal everyday people for something real, authentic, flawed, not perfect and dead behind the eyes, but human made. And also, for the next generation, the kids that are growing up with fennec foxes that are like cuteness level turned up to 11, polished, and they've gone down this dark path of jigglier and more jiggly and jigglier people, they're going to want to grow up and they're going to want something real again. They're going to crave authenticity. That's what people do. Kids are growing up right now. They're probably going to be like more into nature. They're probably going to be anti-AI. Would not be surprised. There's hopefully going to be a new punk rock movement or whatever, this next generation's version of the punk rock movement that is like so sick of fakeness and bullshit that they rise against it. And that will create opportunities for people that want to do art, that want to create art with their hands, because there's going to be a market for it. I think we're probably going to have to suffer through some times, and I'm just going to have to try to keep my head up there and hopefully make it. If you're an artist, you literally are the only person that can produce the product that you produce. Real intelligence is able to stick things together in a way that nobody else can do it. And even if they can do something very similar, they can't recreate your hands and the little decisions you make and the strokes that you make with the brush. And there will always be people that want handmade things. And by handmade, I don't necessarily mean paintbrush and oil paint. Handmade meaning not generated with prompts. I'm talking about with your hands out of your brain with a brush, even if it's a digital brush. You know what I'm saying? Okay, just give somebody an authentic, real experience. And I know probably a lot of ultra rational people out there that are like, oh, this is the opposite of what you should do. You should find a niche and get in there, take some feet pictures of your own, what's hot right now. And I completely understand that that's how they butter their bread, but I ain't gonna do that. This is my road to hoe. I guess buy the ticket, take the ride. Here we go. Let's go. Hi everybody, Dan here. What if I told you that this entire video was created using artificial intelligence? The future is now.